So we've seen well-known names leaving California, Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, but are average ordinary people leaving California? And if so, why are they leaving and where are they going? I mean, California is a beautiful state. They have some of the best wine in the world. They got snow-capped mountains, they got hills, they got valleys, they got the beach. Plus, just look at the songs that have been written about California. I mean, you have Dr. Dre's California Love, you got the Eagles' Hotel California. I mean, what's not to love? But the rumor is people are leaving California by the thousands, and it's not just they're leaving California, but people are electing not to move into the state of California. So, I had to do some digging. Why are they leaving California? Where are they moving to? And why aren't they moving into California? According to the U.S. Census in 2021, 275,000 people left the state of California. But wait, there's more. In 2022, 360,000 people moved out of the state of California. Now, there are many reasons I discovered why people are leaving California, and yes, there are many reasons. For starters, it's not cheap. The average cost for one person to live in the state of California is $46,600. That's for one person. The typical city in the state of California's cost of living is 38% higher than the average cost of living in any other state in the nation. And it's the little things that you don't realize. Like in Orange County, California, it costs you 23% more on average to get a haircut than anywhere else in the nation. Now, your first thoughts may be, well, the cost of living is so high in California because of all the millionaires. And it makes total sense because you think, well, if you've got all these millionaires in the state, that's why it costs so much to live. So I had to know how many millionaires are living in California. And I discovered there are 1,147,000 millionaires living in the state of California. That's a lot of people and that's a lot of millionaires, but it's only 2.9% of the actual total population, which is 39.2 million people. According to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, California is the third highest place to live, only behind Washington, D.C. and Hawaii. Now, you can look at California as a whole, but you know as well as I do, there are cities in all states where it costs more to live in that city within that state than it does other places within a state. And in California, there's a lot of those. Take Los Angeles, for example, where the average cost to live in Los Angeles is $74,300 a year. So think about that. Whether you're self-employed or an employee, the goods and services that you sell, money that you receive, that's your gross income. So when you have gross income and you got to have $74,000 to live, that's like having to make $95,000 a year after you pay taxes. Now, taxes, that's another reason why people are leaving. But for now, why does it cost so much to live in a big major metropolitan city? The answer to that is about as basic as you come, because you have people and then you have consumption. And we as people consume, and thus they call us consumers. And whether it be products or services, we all charge each other for the goods and services that we use and consume. So how it works, let me tell you a quick story. Kenny opens up an automobile detailing shop, and Kenny does a phenomenal job. He does such a good job that he has a huge bank of business. So to keep up with that demand, Kenny has to hire 2 people. In addition to hiring 2 people, you also have goods and services that he's using that's going up, such as gas and the products that he uses to detail the vehicles. Now, this does allow him to take care of his customers better, but as a result, his costs of doing business on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, his overhead is going up. So Kenny has to increase his prices from $10 to $12 to $15, and he does this for 2 reasons. One is demand. He does such a superior job of detailing the vehicles that he has a consistent flow of business. And then 2, the increased overhead costs that he's incurring. Now, as years progress, Kenny hires more staff. He then buys this really cool building. As a result, he has more overhead. He has to pay more in taxes because of the value of the building. He has to pay more in insurance and more in overhead, more in products. And you can see how it just surmounts and everything starts to go up. And this is how people and consumption push up the price of goods and services. And that's why it costs more to live in a more populated area than it does in a rural or suburban area. And yes, this affects everything. The cost of food, the cost of living, the cost of gas, the cost of utilities. You can see how living in populated areas, it all goes up. And speaking of gas, a gallon of gasoline in the state of California is the second highest in the nation, only behind Hawaii. Now let's look at real estate. Real estate in California, the median price of a home in 2022 is $898,000. And the average square footage of a home is 1,890 square feet. So you see, it's not these big monstrosity homes. When you say, wow, $898,000, that's not a huge home. That's like a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home for $898,000. That's $507,000 more than the median price of a home in the United States, which is $392,000. And of course, with that high cost comes property taxes, because property taxes are based on a percentage of the value of the home. So you can see how the home's expensive, so are the taxes. But it's not just the taxes, it's also the insurance, because now to insure that property, instead of it being $392,000, it's $898,000. So you're going to have more insurance. So you can see how you're paying more for a house, more for taxes, and more for insurance. $500,000 more than the national average. As a result, people are moving around, they're migrating more, they're moving to cities and states where there's no state income tax and the cost of living is cheaper. So that left me to do a little digging. Where are the people relocating? If they're leaving California, where are they going to? And I discovered the top 4 cities that people are leaving California going to: Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, Seattle, Washington, and Phoenix, Arizona. And yes, the state of Texas and the state of Washington do not have state income tax. But you know, besides money, people really truly just want to live in a nice, clean, safe environment where they know that they're not constantly looking over their shoulder and it's not crazy expensive to live there. So listen to this, true story. A married couple in their 30s live in an apartment around Venice Beach, California. Now it's only 500 square feet and it's a beautiful area, right? They're making a combined income of around $150,000 a year. But they start looking at other places in which they can live and work. But they're like, look, wait a minute, what we do for a living, we can move to St. Louis, Missouri, or we can move to Nashville, Tennessee, or Atlanta, Georgia, or Dallas, Texas, and we'll make less money. However, our money will go further because property taxes are lower, housing is lower, gallon of gasoline is lower, and so that's why people are moving. They can physically move out of the state of California into somewhere else where there's no state income tax. Everything is less expensive. Even though they make less money, the quality of their life, their money goes further, and that's why it is fact. People are leaving California. Until next time, have fun and no worries.